Welcome again to my panel, comedian Leo Kuss and also Conservative commentator Calvin Robinson. Right, so first I want to talk to you about these protesters. I mean, it's a bit like, did you watch The Life of Brian?
Yeah.
The Judeans People's Front and the People's Front of Judea, Just Stop Oil, Insulate Britain, It's going on and on. I mean, what's your view on all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a nonsense. And also, they need to pick their moment. Don't do it right now when we're in an energy crisis. We're at war. Well, we're not at war with Russia, but basically the free world in Europe is at war with Russia. They really need to. They could have just waited a couple of months to start, waving their rattles and screaming again.
Calvin,
it's a bit of a cult, isn't it? You're right. That woman was hysterical.
It was ridiculous.
These people are falling apart over the idea of us doing what we normally do, burning oil to create energy. It's not an absurd thing to do. Yes, we need alternatives. Yes, we need more viable options. But for the time being, we have to make do with what we can and try and keep the prices as low as possible.
And for her to say that it's going to destroy her children's future, actually oil and fossil fuels enable the modern world, enable this, relative luxury that we live in compared to, 100 years ago, 200 years ago.
We do.
And if you look at the carbon emissions, obviously, from this country, although we do this offsetting thing, so it's not quite as a tiny percentage of the world's carbon is being emitted from the United Kingdom, as it were, in comparison to the other countries. So it begs the question, why on earth they're just wasting their time here when there's so many other countries, if they really were serious about their protests, that they could go to. It just doesn't...
That's the thing that really gets to me now. It really, really gets on my nerves because our carbon emissions have been going down rapidly since the 60s. We hardly produce any compared to, relatively speaking, compared to other nations. I think China produces more than most of Europe combined. Go over there, protest over there, stick your face with glue to the road in China.
I mean, you saw what happened at Tiananmen Square. I mean, seriously.
I'd like to see that happen to Extinction Rebellion.
Obviously not quite.
They want to start, not
the
quite.
Exact same thing. But,
well, I mean, according to the Chinese Communist Party, nothing happened.
Oh, okay,
so that's what I want to happen. But yeah, it's like with the discussion around slavery. Everybody protests against British slavery, which ended hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And yet there's more slavery now in the world than there was at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. So people could go out. They could go to China and stop the Uyghur Muslims being enslaved. They could go to Libya, but they don't because that would be difficult. And also put them at risk. So it's easier to just, blame Britain for everything. And
if you look at some of the pictures of the protesters actually today, they're all very well dressed. They're all, they all look perfectly. There's no children hanging about. I don't know. A lot of them seem quite old, so older that the kids don't live at home, or too young that they don't have any children, or frankly, people. To me, it just looks like. There's not a real ethnic mix there. It's just a load of people who seem to be relatively wealthy and able to protest and spend time during the day when most of us are working or stopping us all from getting to work. Where are they going? Why are they not on their way to work? And if their bosses saw them there, I don't think that would go down well.
And for a fact they didn't ride a horse to that protest. They didn't ride a unicycle all the way from Brighton to that protest. They got transport there that burnt fossil fuels. They're wearing artificial fibres that are made from fossil fuels. All the good things in their life are as a result of our exploitation of fossil fuels. And yet they can turn around and point the finger at other people and say, oh no, but you have to lose your quality of life. I mean, I think, Michael Jackson said it best. It's, one of the things he got right. Start with the man in the mirror. Yeah. And don't look at the other stuff Michael Jackson
did. I think that's biblical. He without sin should throw the first stone.
Yes, fair enough.
People's energy bills are going up from £100 to like £800. It's going up dramatically at the moment. We can't afford to sit there and say, actually, I'm not going to use any oil. It's a ridiculous... These people are disconnected from reality. That's what this is.
They have an interesting reality, but certainly not the one most of us live in.